And right now it's Oscar season. And last 5 years, we've had an Oscar party. When the nominees come out, I love to see all of them and then prepare a menu that represents a dish from each of the nominees. And here's what I have for this year. I'm going to be making the Malibu Barbie pink cocktail. And we start off with a nice glass. And we're sticking it in corn syrup and then pink sugar. I'm going to be making 2 versions of this. One with alcohol and one non-alcoholic. And the first thing I'm going to do is squeeze some oranges to have fresh juice. And then we're going to take the shaker. We're going to put some ice. 2 ounces of coconut rum. 1 ounce of cranberry juice. 1 ounce of pineapple juice, and then 1 ounce of orange juice, and just a little splash of grenadine. And then you put the lid on and just shake it up. And then for garnish, I have these really cute little skewers, and I'm just gonna put a cherry and a pineapple slice. And there we have it, the Malibu Barbie pink cocktail. Then to make the non-alcoholic version, it's the same thing. And then instead of rum, I'm going to be putting coconut milk. So I'm going to do the same thing with the little skewer. Cheers. Good. Now I'm going to be making Portuguese egg tarts for the movie Poor Things. So we're going to start off making a puff pastry dough. Originally, I'm not for making my own puff pastry dough. But everything I read said that you really need to make your own. So we are going to attempt to make our own puff pastry. In a mixer with a dough hook, we're putting 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and 2/3 a cup of water. That's it. And then we're just going to mix it until it comes together. Looks like this. It's going to be a tacky dough. Like it's sticky. So now I'm going to try to make this into a rectangle the best you can. That's like 1 inch thick. Get it so the shape will be not too bad when you roll it. Then you're taking your rolling pin and you're just going to roll it to be about 10 inches long. Which I'm going to use a ruler to check where I'm at. So I'm at 10 inches right now. Just cover it with plastic wrap and let it rest for 15 minutes. Okay. Now that it's rested for 15 minutes, I'm going to roll it out to be 15 inches long. Ruler to see where I'm at. That's pretty good. So then next I'm going to take 1.5 cups of unsalted butter here that I whipped up so it's really soft. And I'm going to take 1/3 of this butter and I'm going to spread it on 2/3 of this dough, leaving like 1 inch from the edge. So then now we're going to fold the dough over, and then I'm going to add more flour. We're going to roll it again. I'm going to put more butter, fold it in thirds again, more flour, roll it out again. This is the last time. 3 times we roll it. I'm going to get a spatula to get all this butter out. The same thing, just spread this on 2/3, fold it in thirds again. Just spread a little more flour. I have to roll it out to 18-inch square. I'm also going to pinch the edges so the butter doesn't like squeeze out as much as possible. 18 inches is kind of big, so let's see. So then now what you do is you roll this into a log. So it's going to be like a spiral. And then I like to tuck the side edges in so it makes it more even. I'm going to push the seams together. And then we're going to wrap this in plastic wrap and let it sit in the fridge overnight. We'll come back for this tomorrow. Now I'm going to take the puff pastry we made earlier. You want to put a little flour onto your cutting board or parchment paper or whatever so it doesn't stick. And we're going to cut it into portions. I'm first just going to cut off the end. And see how there's like it's a spiral? That's what you want, the layers. The recipe says to do it like 1/2 inch. I'm doing it smaller than that because I'm using a smaller muffin tin. And then just put enough in each little section. So the reason why I picked this dish for Poor Things, Bella is exploring the world with Duncan, and they're in Lisbon, Portugal. There he introduces her to egg custard tarts, and she's like in love with them, and he tells her, oh no, you can only have one. So later that day she sneaks out while he's sleeping and gets more egg tarts, and she eats 6 of them. So that's why I picked this dish. So now what you want to do is you just want to use your thumb and you want to push and spread it out all the way, making a little rim above the muffin tin cover. And then I'm going to just do the rest of these. Okay, now that they're done, I'm going to put them in the fridge to let them rest and get firm for like 10 minutes while I make the custard. Now I'm going to make the simple syrup. It's just 3/4 cup of water with a cup of sugar and a cinnamon stick. The simple syrup's ready. You can tell when all the sugar crystals are melted. Now we're going to just put this to the side and let it cool a little bit. So now to make the filling, we're going to heat up a cup and a tablespoon of milk until little bubbles form. And then while we're waiting for that, I'm going to whisk 1/2 cup of flour with 5 tablespoons of milk. The other milk's on the stove starts bubbling. We're going to add this to it and it will help it thicken. Just want to make sure all the lumps are out. As you can see, there's little bubbles going around the edges. So I'm going to add the flour. We're going to whisk this. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit so we get this mixed in good. And then now I'm going to take the simple syrup and I'm going to take out the cinnamon stick. And I'm going to slowly pour this in. You're supposed to continually whisk it, and it's going to cook for 10 minutes until it thickens. I'm going to strain it before I add the egg yolks, and then I will probably also strain it after, just like you do with a regular custard. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to strain it again. Just push it through the sieve. So now I'm going to add a little bit of the hot milk mixture into 6 egg yolks. Just a little, and then stir it up. It's tempering the eggs so they get up to a temperature so they will not curdle. And if you just pour this whole thing in the hot milk, they'll curdle. We definitely do not want that. So just add a little. Now we're going to put this back in the pot. Put the heat on low. And do the same thing with just pour all the eggs in. Mix them together. Now we're going to strain the mixture again. We're going to take that mixture and scoop them into our chilled dough. It says to put 1.5 tablespoons. I'm just using a small cookie scoop. You definitely don't want the custard to get in between the pastry and the pan, because then they will definitely stick. Now they go in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. They're puffed up now, but they will sink back down. You hear how crispy the pastry sounds? That's what you want. Really look at the spiral on the bottom. I've never had an egg custard tart before, so I'm really excited to try this. That's good. Now I'm going to be making a tomato tart in puff pastry, and this is for the movie American Fiction. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a cheese filling, and it's 6 ounces of cream cheese and a tablespoon of chopped up basil, a tablespoon of chopped up parsley, and a tablespoon of chopped up thyme, and then 1 clove of garlic that has been grated to like mush. Basically, you want to paste. The zest of a lemon, 5 to 6 tablespoons of Parmigiano, and then about half a cup of shredded mozzarella. And then I'm going to add a little salt to it. And then we're going to just use the hand mixer and mix it up. You want to make sure that your cream cheese is very soft. Now I have a piece of frozen puff pastry that's been thawed on a piece of parchment with a little flour. And then I'm just going to roll it out to be a little bigger. So now I'm going to score it a little bit. So I'm kind of making like a border. And inside the border, I'm going to poke it with a fork. What that does is it helps it not puff up. So the goal is that the border will be really puffy and the middle will not. So now all we got to do is spread the cheese mixture, the inside of the border. I didn't use quite all the cheese because I think this is plenty. So I'm going to move this out of the way. We're going to cut the tomatoes. We're going to put it on the paper towel. Just going to add some kosher salt to this. And then I'm going to cover it with another paper towel, and it helps extract some of the liquid from the tomatoes so they won't be too soggy on the tart. So this is going to sit here for a couple minutes. Now I'm going to put the tart in the oven to partially bake. 325 convection oven or 350 regular oven for 10 minutes. So I took this out of the oven, and then I just pricked the main part that's not the border again because it puffs up a little, so I just poked it again to flatten it. And then now we're gonna put the tomatoes on. You could overlap them a little. And then just put some fresh cracked pepper and also some flaky sea salt. I'm gonna take a egg that I beat up with a little bit of water, and then I'm just gonna brush the edge. It gives it a nice color and glaze, like a gloss finish. And the last thing I'm gonna do is just sprinkle like 2 tablespoons of Parmigiano Reggiano on the very top. Pop it back in the oven for another 10 minutes. Sweet baby. It smells so good. Now we're gonna finish it. Finish the tart with some fresh torn basil and some balsamic reduction. The reason why I picked this for American Fiction is there's a scene in the movie where he's at his family's beach house and he goes outside and his neighbor across the street drops her groceries. Out come a bunch of tomatoes, and he runs over and picks them all up and basically says, like, you don't want to waste some good tomatoes. I don't think that's the exact line, but basically the gist of it. So there's the basil, and you just want to squeeze a little balsamic reduction. Then you just slice it up in some squares and dig in. Now we're going to be making cheese fondue. The first thing you want to do is take a cut clove of garlic and rub it basically just getting the essence of the garlic. And then I'm pouring a cup of wine. You want to do a dry wine. And then we're just going to warm this up. And while it's warming up, I'm going to add a tablespoon and a teaspoon of cornstarch to the cheese we're using. And it is a pound of Gruyere and half a pound of Emmental. You could use any kind of Swiss cheese that you want. And this makes it so the cheese doesn't lump up. And this dish is for the movie Anatomy of a Fall. The movie takes place in the Alps. And to me, the quintessential food from the Alps is fondue. So you just want to slowly add the cheese, let it melt a little before you add more. It's just about letting the cheese melt and being patient. Okay, now that the cheese is almost melted, we're just going to add a little squeeze of lemon, about a teaspoon of lemon juice. Stir that in. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of kirsch. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's like a cherry liqueur. Add some pepper and a little bit of freshly grated nutmeg. And then stir it together. And it should be ready in about 3 minutes. And I'm going to just put it in my electric fondue pot. And the dippers I'm going to use is going to be some French bread that I'm going to warm up and cube, some blanched broccoli, and then I have some roasted red potatoes and kielbasa. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to see our part 2 Oscar menu video come out.